Epstein files, over 3 million pages but incomplete, only half story. Russia's Matryoshka campaign against France and Ukraine in the background. Fakes in minutes, verification takes weeks. Let's try to understand what is unfolding with colleagues from 3 continents. I'm Jarosław Włodarczyk. Welcome to Press Talks.
Anna Gielewska, editor-in-chief at V-Square, a Central European investigative outlet and deputy director-in-chief of the Polish investigative outlet Front Story, covers Russian influence operation, disinformation and propaganda in CEE. Richard Toffel, author, second rough draft newsletter on Substack, former president and first employee of ProPublica, former assistant publisher, Wall Street Journal. Gabriel Baglow, veteran journalist in public broadcasting and independent print media, contributor to key African and UNESCO press freedom frameworks, Africa Director, International Federation of Journalists.
Political shockwaves are spreading across the world. Investigations, resignations, governments in damage control mode. Here are the headlines shaping this story.
Epstein revelations stir chaos from Scandinavia to South Asia. The scandal surrounding US sex offender Jeffrey Epstein is rocking European countries. French diplomat Fabrice Adan appears in Epstein files. Foreign minister appalled. I study moral panics. The Epstein files are not one.
The promised transparency became only the presentation of half of the files. I will start with Richard. Do you think this is the act of transparency in truth, or it's just a political detonation?
So, first of all, the transparency here was all compelled. The Trump administration has only done this under intense fire and then actually under a law that it tried desperately to prevent the Congress from passing. But now that the files have been ordered open, I think the transparency is actually quite real. And I would say the main thing to watch is that while this scandal began with sex, it is now increasingly, I think, just about money.
Yeah. All right. And Anna, when you have an experience with such a number of documents. Let me check my notes, but as far as I remember, Panama Papers was 11.5 million documents. Paradise Papers, 13 million. Pandora Papers, 12 million, but mostly financial documents. Here we've got the huge number of emails, images, over 3.5 million documents in total. And in such a situation, when overnight public opinion is receiving such a huge number of information, is it possible to analyze it, or it's just damaging democratic institutions or weakening them?
Of course, it is impossible to analyze this at once and immediately, but I believe in longer term perspective, yes, and I will get to this soon. But well, to your question, if the institutions have done their job properly, then we would have much more accountability already in place. These documents show the system of impunity, protection for people above the law, rich and powerful. Hopefully, over time, we will be able to learn more about, for example, because Richard mentioned it's increasingly about
money,
more about sex trafficking, but more about crime, politics. I would add politics, geopolitics, and intelligence. Because, for example, to me, one of the angles that needs to be thoroughly investigated is the level of the Russian intelligence involvement and the scale of it, potentially other intelligence. So in the longer term perspective, I hope it will result in more and more accountability. But as mentioned, there is still a huge amount of data not disclosed. and the documents that were already published are heavily redacted. The names are removed, the facts are removed. So it's still kind of chaotic, huge pile of data that we need to structure and investigate thoroughly in this long-term approach. But only recently, I think yesterday or in this last day, there is a new investigation by Channel 4 revealing that it might be only around 2% of documents and files from the whole investigation revealed, because according to the discussion by the FBI, agents and people coordinating this handling of data, it might be up to 50 terabytes of documents and video footage, image footage. It means really months, years to investigate. Of course, if we get access to that at some point, that I believe it might happen, as shown with the investigations you mentioned, Pandora Papers, Panama Papers, Vincent Files, Paradise Papers. We had this huge data, previously mostly leaks, that we were investigating across borders with many investigative journalists involved. Here we have official, revealed by the Department of State. But yeah, we'll see how effectively we can manage investigating this data. But I believe it will contribute to more accountability.
Thank you. And I wonder, from the Global South perspective, Gabriel, you are in Africa, and how Africa is reading that. Is it rather the unfolding justice, or it's an implosion of elites in Europe, in the US?
Thank you for having me. I think this new development is going to bring more sanity in the global governance. I know that over the last 30 years, there have been a campaign. We have been involved strongly with UNESCO and the African government about access to information, and forcing and engaging government to establish access to information legislations to make information available to citizens and journalists. And this development, for me, is an outcome of that campaign, because eventually President Trump had to allow the release of this document. This is the triumph of the campaign for access to information. And in my view, this process is going to cleanse the leadership in the global governance. And this is just the start. And I think throughout the year, this year, 2026, these files will be in the news.
Right. Let me return to Anna. Do you think that with this turmoil and this situation, is it still space for fair reporting?
Of course. I mean, there is a high need for reporting and for multiple investigations. Of course, mostly by some institutions responsible for investigations, and we already have some investigations starting in Europe, even if not in the US. Agree, it will take months, years, but there is this critical role of watchdog organizations and investigative journalists right now, and cross-border collaboration to investigate specific leads involved in the documents, but also the behind the scenes connections, network of power, money transfers, organized crime, intelligence setups, if there were some. So it needs huge effort, lots of technology, resources, and of course no single organization might be able to do this alone. But we need investigations and reporting that will somehow, step by step, uncover the broader picture.
Yeah, we'll return to journalism in the second part of the program, but I want to return to Richard and to ask about Washington calculations. How Washington, administration is calculating the risks in the other NATO capitals?
Honestly, I think Washington has been oblivious to the risks of this to anybody else. I think they've been thinking about it very much about themselves. I think the administration's original calculation was simply about trying to protect the president, and that failed. And now, and I think there's been damage to the president, but now that damage has extended, for instance, to the Secretary of Commerce, who's clearly been caught lying under oath about his relationship with Epstein, but it's also extended importantly into the private sector in the U.S. The general counsel of Goldman Sachs has just resigned. The managing partner of Paul Weiss, one of the leading law firms in the country, has resigned. I don't think that this is all calculated in the White House. I think that they have, frankly, lost control of this narrative and are slowly losing control of the investigation.
Okay, and closing that part, I would like to ask Gabriel, do you think in the countries where institutions are more fragile, could it be a long-term weapon, and who is benefiting from that potential erosion of trust?
I think it's the peoples. The peoples will be benefiting from this. So I don't think it's rather positive move, because with the opacity, leaders can do whatever they want, and powerful people in the world can do whatever they want. But today, with this, the revelation of this document, I think it's the people that are going to benefit from it. It's journalism also that is going to benefit from it, because I think it's rather positive, and it's the peoples, the human beings on the globe that are going to benefit from it. I think in Africa too, it will be the same. Some names have been already revealed in the files, but we expect that more names from Africa will be also revealed in terms of the author of these files influencing the government in Africa.
The political fallout is one part of the story. Information war is another part. Millions of documents published created a vacuum. Always someone is filling this vacuum. Let's turn on that and see the headlines.
Epstein, a weapon of disinformation. Russia turns Epstein files into a disinformation weapon against Macron and Ukraine. How the latest Epstein files have revived conspiracy theorists' attempt to link Mark Carney with the notorious sex offender. The Epstein files and China's information war against the Dalai Lama.
Anna, I want to ask you how, because you monitor it, how quickly hostile actors weaponized this information and started to use it. Did you see any pattern in their behavior?
They immediately started it, of course, I would say in real time. And we have some first reports already published by disinformation researchers and analysts from top think tanks in Europe and US. For example, there is already a study by a London-based think tank, ISD, Institute for Strategic Dialogue, that shows how the Kremlin propaganda ecosystem has been immediately exploiting Epstein files with the goal to undermine Ukraine, and in some kind of wild, conspiracy that is actually denying again Russian involvement in kidnapping, organizing massive kidnapping children from Ukraine to Russia. And so now the Kremlin propaganda says that they are actually protecting them against being sent to Epstein ring and so on. So of course, yes, immediately all these hostile actors that are active in in main topics that might be of interest to the broader public and might be polarizing and kind of play into the information war goals, uses this, and they have again the more and more tools and technology to use it immediately to create lots of deep fakes, fabricated, manipulated videos, and pictures with various politicians across the globe who are not mentioned in the Epstein files, yet they are featured in this deep fakes video, suggesting they are as well part of this ring. So we are already seeing lots of this, and we will be seeing more and more. So it's again huge effort to verify all this claim, but still it's already there. It's going viral, as with Macron.
With Dalai Lama in China, and yeah. So I wonder, Gabriel, what's happening in the countries with lower investigative journalism capacity, like in some African countries?
Yes, I think there's a danger there because, like Anna has just said, the influence fightings of the superpowers, NATO and Russia on the other side, they are all trying to influence or to have a proxy war, especially in Africa. So it's likely that there will be a use of disinformation for propaganda on the African continent. But like you've said, in a context where you have very weak institutions, that's where the role of the investigative reporting is very important. If you don't have these reporters or investigative reporters in some of these countries that have weak institutions, it's going to be chaos because people will be believing volubly in the propaganda or the disinformation that will be disseminated in those countries.
And how is in the US? Richard, do you think that legacy media can handle these 3.5 million documents without, cleaning that from these injections from outside actors?
So far, I think I do. I've been very impressed. For instance, the New York Times said today in a piece that they have had 2 computer engineers, in addition to reporters and editors, devoted to this story full time for weeks. I assume a similar thing is going on at the Wall Street Journal and probably other places as well. And the raft of legitimate stories here is extraordinary. You have I think now definitive report that the now president of the United States told told a sheriff years before Epstein's sex crimes were revealed that he and everybody else in Palm Beach, in his view, knew about them. You have the fall of the UK's ambassador to the United States, of the former second in line to the British throne, the other resignations that I talked about. There are real scandals here that I think are being reported and unearthed. And in this country, at least, it seems to me that people are doing a very good job of separating the wheat from the chaff.
Okay, and Anna, what is the biggest danger in these documents which are coming from Russia, China, and other bad people?
So I think the biggest threat is actually such a level of confusion that might be, among users, like online users and social media users, and chaos, that the truth of like what has been happening and who were really involved and complicit in the Epstein rings will be ultimately blurred, and that at some point we might experience the overload of disinformation about that, like including this AI fabricated videos. So So I think that's a threat, but it's also a challenge, and we should somehow like tackle this challenge. I'm saying we, I mean, again, media, watchdog organizations, but also the users, like to make them aware that there is lots of influence operations around that, and it is really important to use verified sources and credible, legitimate media and fact-checking organizations. So so we need to be very careful also as journalists and to verify with the original files whether this is substantiated what we are reporting, and not to quickly take as granted what we see online.
So could you add something to this, Richard? What is the single best way for professional media how to report these explosive archives or similar?
I think there are two key points here. The first is that you've got to be very careful to authenticate any documents or videos or whatever that you're dealing with. That's always the first point in a document dump. The fact that there are a million legitimate documents doesn't mean that there aren't a few phony ones salted in, and you do have to worry about that every single time. The second thing is you need to take steps to protect the privacy of the innocent. And again, I think the government is using that as an excuse in many cases for excessive redaction, but I think the press, so far at least, and again in this country, has been quite careful about that. But having done those two things, there are clearly big stories here, some that we had some hint about, many that we did not. And so I think there's a great deal of good and important journalism still to be done. And
the last question to Gabriel, from your many years experience, could you say, don't you have a feeling that journalism is not only reporting facts, but now somehow defending facts?
Yes, yes, we can report facts, but we need also to defend them. But what I wanted to say here more is that this is the time professional journalism should really work hard to make sure that we defend the facts. Ethical journalism and professional journalism are called upon at this moment to make sure that they shed light and orient the social media and what is in the digital space. I mean, in Africa too. I think throughout this year, in my view, it's just a work in progress. There's need for supporting the network of journalists on the continent to make sure that any disinformation that is produced through these files is detected easily. So we hope that we'll be able to assist journalists on the continent to properly make use of these files.
We are nearing to the end of the program, so let me somehow summarize it. Something what started from court records, now it became the global information war, and we are facing the very dangerous situation all over the world in different countries. That's all for Press Talks today. Thank you for watching. Thank you, my fellow colleagues, for joining and for your insights. I'm Jarosław Włodarczyk. Stay well and see you next time. Goodbye.